So let's kind of go more into Fight for the Future now. What are some other projects Fight for the Future has going on that you want to highlight?
Let's see. We're very optimistic with the new administration that our flagship issue, net neutrality, is going to be taking off and potentially being enshrined in law. And net neutrality is the concept that an internet service provider like a Comcast or an AT&T can't decide to put YouTube in the fast lane and Twitch in the slow lane, so that you have to pay a premium to access Twitch because they have a deal with YouTube, for example. It prevents the content carriers themselves from deciding what you can and cannot see and do online, which we think is really important, and was a law and was like an FCC regulation under the Obama administration that Trump rolled back.
Well, we've basically had net neutrality since the advent of the internet, which I think is a lot of people don't realize that. They think, oh, we just had it. We just had it during the Obama administration. Well, no, technically we had it since the advent of the internet. It was just an assumed rule and it wasn't like on the books. So the cable companies wanted to see if they could mess with it. They tried. So we got it cemented into law. And then the Trump administration repealed it. And because of organizations like Fight for the Future fighting on the front lines, because of states trying to pass net neutrality bills, we were able to hold the lines. And to bring people up to speed now, unless something has changed very recently, which feel free to correct me if I'm off here, the FCC is in a 2-2 deadlock where there would be 2 pro net neutrality votes to reinstate it and 2 likely anti net neutrality votes not to reinstate it. And we're waiting for that 5th appointee by the Biden administration, who should be a pro net neutrality vote. That's what we're hoping for. Biden did promise a pro net neutrality appointee. My mom always taught me actions speak louder than words, so I'll believe I see it. But hopefully it will be a pro net neutrality FCC person, which would then give it a 3-2 vote to reinstate net neutrality. Now, here where I live in California, our net neutrality law is moving forward because they gave up all the lawsuits. Basically, the big tech lost their lawsuit, and then the lawsuit that the Trump administration has, well, the new administration, the Biden administration, dropped that lawsuit. So our net neutrality laws are moving forward here in California, and I believe in some other states as well. Is that still where the FCC is at? Does everything check out there?
Yeah, that checks out for the FCC. Although for our part, we don't want to play this ping pong between a Republican administration and a Democratic administration, or like between appointees who are like bought by big telecom or not bought by big telecom. So our hope here is that something like the Save the Internet Act will be reintroduced, and that this will actually be enshrined in law, as opposed to being like regulated by the FCC, which is liable to change.
Because the Save the Internet Act just basically brings back the net neutrality protections we had and just puts it back, and that can be done through Congress.
Yeah, that's correct. So there's that, and then we've also been recently working a lot more on this issue, this sort of like drag out fight between Amazon and libraries in terms of access to like digital books, ebooks, and audiobooks. And that's been super interesting, and also pretty dire in terms of the numbers.
Because Amazon, which imagine being the second richest person in the world and waking up in the morning and thinking, you know what I should do? Screw over libraries. That's what's missing from the world. I should screw over libraries. I'm the second richest person in the world. I will never want. My family will never want. Their children will never want. Their children will never want. And so on and so forth until the end of humanity. I should screw over libraries. I should do that. So what's going on there specifically? Why is Amazon screwing over libraries?
Well, Amazon is screwing over libraries because Amazon isn't really like, even though they're the largest book publisher in the world, they aren't really a bookseller or largest bookseller in the world. They aren't really a bookseller. They're a data company, and their goal is to set up systems by which they can collect the maximum amount of data possible and surveil all of their consumers, all the people that support them. And that is sort of antithetical to the whole purpose of a library. Like, libraries have a core directive to protect the privacy of their patrons, and many libraries won't actually offer any books through like Amazon Kindle, for example, because Amazon collects a huge amount of data on individual readers, what they like everything down to like how frequently you're turning the page and what you read over again. It's so granular. And so what Amazon is doing is they're trying to edge libraries out of the digital book future, which is particularly egregious during the pandemic. And they're doing this by creating a lot of exclusive content and using their market power to cement deals and partnerships with people like Trevor Noah, Michael Pollan, to pay them a whole bunch of money for like an audiobook exclusive on their Audible platform, or an ebook exclusive on, Amazon Kindle, and then forcing anybody who wants to read that book, like to pay Amazon to access it, not only with dollars, but with data. And that cuts out essentially all marginalized readers. So anybody who's reliant on a library, anybody who can't afford to pay Amazon, anybody who doesn't want what they're reading to be tracked. And this is a growing access problem through public libraries that's only going to get worse. A lot of times, one of our maxims is, if you want to see, a potential digital future, the most likely digital future, look at what's happening to marginalized people now.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, because what they're likely trying to do, and we've seen this happen time and time again, is they'll try to make it so that it eventually, slowly but surely, becomes common where, well, of course you can only get this book on Amazon. We're just used to that by now. And eventually there won't be any fee whatsoever. You will be able to get it, quote, for free, but you'll be paying them in data. That's what they're slowly building. And it's incredibly problematic. I don't know about you. On a personal level here, I can't imagine what this pandemic would have looked like for me had I not had my trusty Libby app.
Libby is very cool. And I mean, if you're a big e-reader, and you're like, oh my God, my Kindle is surveilling me, I don't like that. Highly recommend Libby. The problem with that, though, is that there's also this like price and arms race in digital books, not only with Amazon, but also with the other big five, potentially soon to be big four publishers, that's resulting in situations like there's a school district in California, for example, that was recently in the news because they're having to pay $27 per student per ebook per year in order to let students read The Diary of Anne Frank. And that's taxpayer money for a limited public school budget that is just melting away under the pressures of trying not to like sell students data to get a cheaper price, trying to get books to students during a pandemic when many of them may not be able to go and pick up a physical book from the school, and coordinating that is a nightmare. And during which time, like, e-learning is becoming more and more a part of our everyday lives, and that's a price that's being paid right now. This is what's normal right now for this school district, and it's absolutely wild. And everybody who hears that number is just, as mad as I am about it. So we've organized this website called whocangetyourbook.com that lays out these issues, not only for public schools, libraries, and also independent booksellers, but also in terms of those who are being most harmed, whether that's young readers, English as a second language readers, disabled readers, etc. And also to be, to point out specifically, we're talking about low-income readers and rural readers here as well. And this divide of information access where, like, you can go on the internet and you can get a whole lot of bullshit for free. Via social media or what have you, whereas like access to actual knowledge and narratives of other people's experiences, things that are in books, things that have been, vetted and given that gravitas, are unavailable to the people who perhaps might need those perspectives most.
Yeah, it's remarkable that we are entering an age where things should be so easily and readily available, and that should kind of democratize society in a better way. Yet, because of greed, which, man, haven't we heard this one before? But largely because of greed, it's actually they're finding a way to go backwards in many ways. And that's why, something y'all say at Fight for the Future that I think is very important that folks really got to realize digital rights are human rights.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron.